She said I was too busy to notice her. But I noticed everything. Her lies were about to ignite a fire she couldn't put out. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe to Revenge Forge for more unforgettable stories that speak to the heart. I'm Trevor Halden, 47, a senior project manager at a renewable energy firm in Houston, Texas. My life was a steady machine built on discipline and deals. A $1.2 million loft in the Heights, all steel and skyline views. A $240,000 salary earned steering a $70 million company through wind farm contracts. Kristen, my wife of 9 years, was the pulse of it all. At 34, she was a corporate strategist at our firm, brilliant, polished, the kind of woman who could close a boardroom with a smile. We met at a clean energy expo in Dallas, her pitching a sustainability plan, me untangling a turbine supply chain. We clicked over whiskey and ambition. Married a year later in a hill country vineyard, we forged a life that felt like a blueprint for success. Our loft was our haven. Marble counters, floor-to-ceiling windows, her sketches framed on the walls. We'd cook chili on Saturdays, her laughing at my heavy hand with the cumin. Weekends were for hiking Buffalo Bayou or catching Astros games. I wasn't just in love, I was grounded. Kristen was my partner, my spark. But sparks can burn, and I was too focused to see the smoke. It started 10 months ago. Kristen's late nights at the office piled up. New project, she'd say, brushing her blonde hair back, blue eyes dodging mine. Big investors, I got it. My job was relentless, 2 14-hour days managing $15 million installations. I didn't question her. That was my first mistake. The sign slipped in. Her phone, once open, was now locked tight, buzzing at odd hours. Texts at 2 a.m., her fingers quick to swipe them away. Work stuff, she'd mutter, voice clipped. Her wedding ring stayed on the dresser. It scratches my keyboard, she claimed. I bought it, idiot that I was. Her scent changed, something sharp, musky, not the lavender I loved. Her outfits got bolder, tailored blazers, heels that clicked like a warning. For the investors, she said. But investors don't text at midnight. The break came 6 weeks ago. I just returned from a 4-day site visit in West Texas, bone-tired but sharp. Got home at 7 p.m., the loft dark. Kristen's purse was gone, her Audi missing from the garage. No note, no text. I poured a bourbon, sat on the balcony, and waited. The city hummed below its lights, restless. At 10 p.m. her car pulled in. She walked in, cheeks flushed, lipstick faint. Client dinner, she said, eyes on the floor. She smelled like wine and cologne, not hers. Good meeting, I asked, voice even. Yeah, she mumbled, already heading for the shower. Long day. No touch, no glance. Just the hiss of water behind a closed door. That night her phone lit up at 1 a.m. She was asleep or pretending. The screen glowed Ryan B. My gut twisted. Ryan Beckley, 49, our firm's chief financial officer. He'd been at our engagement party, slapping my back, calling Kristen a gem. Now his name was on her phone in the dead of night. I didn't touch it, but the seed was planted. Morning came. I made coffee, kept it cool. Big day, I asked, handing her a mug. She nodded, scrolling her phone. Ryan's pushing a new budget. It's intense. His name casual, like a blade. I smiled, but my mind was a storm. Ryan Beckley, widowed, charming, and now my wife's boss. Too close for comfort. I watched her closely. Not out of fear, instinct. I've spent years spotting risks in projects. People aren't much different. She took calls in the bedroom, her voice low. Her laptop, once shared, was now locked with a new password. She left earlier, stayed later, always with an excuse. Ryan needs me on this, she'd say. I nodded, but my gut screamed, I'm not a man who cracks. I fix. So I started digging, quietly. First her phone. One night she left it on the kitchen island, unlocked, a rare slip. I opened her messages. Texts from Ryan, dozens after hours. Meet me at the Grove, 8 p.m. That dress was a problem. Trevor's too caught up in turbines to notice. My chest tightened. I screenshotted everything, sent them to my encrypted drive, and put the phone back. Proof first, emotions second. Next, a tip from a colleague. Sarah Mitchell, 33, our lead data analyst, caught me in the break room. Trevor, you okay? She asked, her voice careful. Kristen's been tight with Ryan. A lot. My jaw clenched. Work stuff. She hesitated. Not sure. They're always in his office, door closed. Her eyes said more than her words. I checked the firm's security logs. My clearance gave me access to keycard records. Kristen's showed late-night entries to Ryan's office, some at 11 p.m., long after strategy meetings ended. One entry 10 p.m. last week matched a night she'd claimed to be at a client pitch. I pulled the camera feeds. The footage was grainy but clear, Kristen and Ryan alone, her, leaning close, his hand on her wrist. I saved the clips time-stamped. Then the money. Our joint account, $40,000 for shared expenses, was down to $9,000. Withdrawals, all recent, to an account I didn't recognize. I called our banker, Greg Lawson, 50, a friend from college. "Trevor," he said, voice low. "Kristen's been moving money to a private account. Started 5 months ago. $31,000 so far." I gripped the phone. "She say why?" Greg paused. "Said it was for a surprise trip. For you." A lie sharp as a knife. I didn't confront her. That's weakness. Instead, I called my lawyer, Mark Sullivan, 52, a bulldog who'd handled my investments. "Build a case," I said, sending the screenshots, footage, bank records. "I want it airtight." Mark didn't blink. "She'll regret this." The first twist hit at a company gala, a black tie event at the Houstonian Hotel. Kristen was there, stunning in a black gown, working the room with Ryan at her side. His smile was too easy, his hand brushing her back. I watched from the bar, my bourbon untouched. Sarah caught my eye, her face tense. "Trevor, you good?" she asked. I nodded. "Just watching." Then I saw it. Kristen's phone left on a table while she danced with Ryan. I moved fast, slipping it into my pocket, and stepped into a quiet hallway. Her messages with Ryan were a gut punch. "Trevor's clueless," he wrote last night. Her reply, "Good. We're set for the gala." Set for what? I scrolled further. A text from her friend Laura Evans, 35. "You sure about this? Chris serving him papers at the gala is brutal." Kristen's response, "He deserves it. I'm done pretending." My blood ran cold. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning to serve me divorce papers in front of my colleagues to break me publicly. And Ryan, the man who toasted my promotion last year, was her accomplice. I could have stormed the dance floor, made a scene. But that's not me. I'm Trevor Halden. I don't react. I plan. This wasn't just about my marriage anymore. It was a revenge story, and I was crafting the ending. The next morning, I met Mark at his office. "File first," I said. "Freeze the accounts. Use everything we've got." He slid a folder across his desk, divorce papers, my terms with a summary of the evidence. "She won't see it coming," he said. I nodded. "Good." That night, Kristen came home late, her perfume heavy. She didn't notice the envelope on the counter addressed to her. She didn't see the USB drive labeled proof. She didn't know I'd called her father, James Whitaker, 67, a retired engineer who'd always respected me. I'd sent him the screenshots. His voice was heavy on the phone. "Trevor, I'm sorry, I didn't raise her like this. I didn't need his apology, I needed his silence." He gave it. The gala was tomorrow. Kristen thought she was in control, ready to drop her bomb. She had no idea I was already 3 moves ahead, ready to turn her plan to ashes. The Houston dawn was a blaze of orange over the skyline, but it felt like ice from my hotel balcony. The gala was tonight, and the envelope on our loft's counter, divorce papers for Kristen, sat untouched. My laptop screen glowed with her text to Ryan Beckley, "Trevor's clueless." Her reply, "Good, we're set for the gala." She planned to serve me papers in front of the firm to gut me publicly. But I was holding the sharper blade. I sipped black coffee, my mind a grid of moves. Kristen's betrayal wasn't just an affair, it was a calculated strike. The $31,000 drained from our joint account, the late-night office meetings with Ryan, the camera footage of their closeness, it all pointed to a bigger play. I needed to know what. I called Mark Sullivan, my lawyer. "Trace the shell account," I said, "and prep a suit for Ryan. Fraud, anything that sticks." Mark's voice was calm. "This could get messy, Trevor." I stared at the city below. "Let it." I drove to the office, a glass tower in the energy corridor, the hum of a $25 million wind farm deal in the air. My team was finalizing contracts, but I kept my focus razor tight. Sarah Mitchell, my data analyst, caught me in the elevator. "Trevor, you look like you're planning a war," she said, half serious. I forced a smile. "Just another day." Her eyes lingered, worried. "First, I secured my finances. I called Greg Lawson, our banker. Freeze my personal accounts," I said. "The $950,000 in savings, the $650,000 in investments. Everything." Greg paused. Kristen tried accessing the savings yesterday. I blocked it per your instructions. My grip tightened. How'd she get the details? Greg's voice dropped. She had a signed authorization. Your signature? Forged. She was bolder than I thought. Next, I dug into the company's security logs. My clearance gave me access to keycard records and email servers. Kristen's logs showed repeated entries to Ryan's office after hours, some at midnight. 1:11 p.m. 2 weeks ago matched a night she'd claimed to be at a vendor meeting. I pulled the camera feeds. The footage showed them alone, her sitting on his desk, his hand on her waist. I saved the clips to my encrypted drive, each frame fuel for the fire. The money trail deepened the cut. Our joint account, now at $7,000, had lost another $2,000 overnight wired to the same shell account. I called Greg. Track it, I said. He called back an hour later. It's registered to a holding company in Delaware. No owner listed. You'll need a court order to dig further. Delaware. Ryan's territory. He wasn't just her lover, he was her partner in a heist. I needed more. I called Ethan Hayes, 46, a private investigator I'd used to vet a shady contractor years ago. Ethan was a shadow, discreet, relentless. Follow Ryan Beckley, I told him. Every move, every meeting, every dollar. And check his emails if you can. Ethan's voice was all business. Give me 48 hours. I hung up the city's pulse, a distant roar. This was a game of leverage, and I was stacking the deck. Back at the hotel, I reviewed the evidence, text, footage, bank transfers. Kristen's plan to serve me papers at the gala was clear, but the why gnawed at me. What was the end game? I poured a bourbon, the glass catching the light. The gala was my battlefield, and I'd be ready. At noon, I met James Whitaker, Kristen's father, at his engineering consultancy downtown. James, a retired engineer with a steady gaze, looked worn. Trevor, he said, closing the door. I saw the screenshots. Laura's a wreck. What's happening? I kept it direct. Kristen's cheating with Ryan Beckley. She's moving money from our account. I'm filing for divorce. James's face fell. My God. He slid a folder across his desk. Kristen asked me to set up an account last year. Said it was for a joint investment. For you. I opened it, bank records, $20,000 wired to the Delaware Shell Company. James had been played just like me. She lied to us both. I said, voice steady. James nodded, jaw tight. I'm cutting her off. I'll testify if you need me. I took the folder, my respect for him solid. James wasn't just a father-in-law, he was a man who valued truth even when it hurt. The first twist hit at 3 p.m. Ethan sent a report Ryan was meeting with a board member, Philip Grayson, 54, at a steakhouse in River Oaks. Philip held a $3 million stake in our firm. Ethan's photos showed them exchanging a flash drive, Ryan's face tense. Financials followed. Ryan had wired $120,000 from his personal account to the Delaware Shell Company, matching Kristen's transfers. But the kicker, Philip had received $75,000 from the same Shell Company last month. This wasn't just about me, they were looting the company. I forwarded the report to Mark. Add Grayson to the suit, I said. Fraud, conspiracy, whatever holds. Mark exhaled. This could sink the firm, Trevor. I didn't flinch. Then it sinks. My loyalty was to my life, not a company riddled with thieves. The second twist came at 6 p.m. Sarah called, her voice urgent. Trevor, check the server backups. Someone accessed your project models. I logged in from my laptop. A folder, my wind farm designs worth $14 million if sold, had been downloaded yesterday. The IP traced to Ryan's home office, but the login was Kristen's. They were stealing my work, not just my money. I texted Ethan. Confirm Ryan's access to my models. Urgent. His reply was quick. Got it. Photos of Kristen at Ryan's condo carrying a laptop. Time-stamped last night. I sent the evidence to Mark. Add theft of intellectual property, I said. The trap was closing. But the why still eluded me. Why risk it all? I needed to know before the gala. At 8 p.m., I met Laura Evans, Kristen's best friend, at a quiet bar on Westheimer. Laura, 35, looked nervous, her red hair tied back. Trevor, I didn't want to get involved, she started. But Kristen's in deep. I leaned forward. How deep? Laura's voice dropped. Ryan's promising her a new life. Said you're hiding money, planning to leave her. He showed her fake bank statements. My blood ran cold. Who's pulling Ryan's strings? Laura hesitated. Philip Grayson. He's been mentoring Ryan for years. said this is their ticket out. The twist landed like a hammer. Philip wasn't just a board member. He was the architect using Ryan and Kristen to gut the firm. Does Kristen know about the shell company? I asked. Laura shook her head. She thinks it's her fresh start. Ryan's lying to her too. Laura was loyal to Kristen, but scared, caught in a web she didn't understand. I thanked her, left a 20 on the table, and walked out. The city lights flickered sharp and unforgiving. The third twist hit at 11 p.m. Ethan's next report was a bombshell. Philip Grayson was in debt $4 million tied to a failed solar venture in Austin. The shell company was his lifeline, funneling company funds to cover his losses. Ryan was his enforcer, Kristen his pawn. But there was more. Philip's silent partner was Kristen's mother, Ellen Whitaker, 64. Ellen had invested $150,000 in Philip's venture, believing it was a safe bet. When it collapsed, Philip promised to recover her money by bleeding our firm dry. Ellen didn't know the full scope, but she'd introduced Kristen to Philip, trusting him to advise her. I stared at the report, my bourbon untouched. My mother-in-law, who'd hosted our Thanksgiving dinners, was complicit, however, unwittingly. The betrayal wasn't just Kristen's. It was a family conspiracy orchestrated by a man I'd trusted with our firm's future. I forwarded the report to Mark. Add Ellen, I said. Limited role, but she's in. Mark didn't argue. This is a house of cards, Trevor. You're about to topple it. The gala was 12 hours away. I checked into a new hotel, keeping my movements hidden. Kristen texted me. Trevor, we need to talk. I ignored it. She thought she was in control, ready to serve her papers. Ryan thought he was untouchable. Philip thought he was invisible. They were all wrong. I met Mark at his office at 9 a.m. He laid out the plan file, the divorce, first freeze the joint accounts, and hit Philip with a civil suit for fraud. We've got enough to bury them, he said, handing me a folder. Divorce papers, financial records, Ethan's reports, all locked in. Serve Kristen at the gala, I said, before she can. Mark nodded. Done. That afternoon, James called. Trevor, Ellen's a mess. She didn't know about Philip's debts. His voice was strained. She's giving you her bank records. Everything she gave Philip. I respected James's move. He was facing the truth no matter the cost. Thanks, I said. I'll handle it. By evening, Ethan had more. Ryan was meeting Philip at a Houston club, finalizing their exit plan. They were selling the firm's client list, $15 million in contracts, to a rival company with Kristen's marketing data as the prize. My work, her betrayal, their profit. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage anymore. I was fighting for my legacy. I packed for the gala, my tux pressed, my briefcase heavy with evidence. Kristen thought she'd shame me tomorrow. She didn't know I was already rewriting the board, ready to burn their scheme to the ground. The Houston night was thick with heat, the Houstonian hotel glowing like a fortress. I adjusted my tie, my briefcase heavy with divorce papers. Mark Sullivan's civil suit against Philip Grayson and Ethan Hayes' reports, a loaded gun of evidence. Kristen thought she'd serve me papers tonight, humiliating me in front of the firm. Ryan Beckley thought he'd walk away with millions. Philip thought he'd outplayed us all. They were about to crash. The gala was a spectacle, chandeliers casting gold, jazz humming, execs and clients in tuxes and gowns. Kristen was there, radiant in her black dress, laughing with Ryan. His hand lingered on her arm, his smirk a challenge. I stayed at the bar, nursing a bourbon, eyes scanning the room. Sarah Mitchell, my data analyst, caught my gaze, her face tense. Trevor, you okay? She asked, voice low. I nodded. Just waiting. She didn't press, but her eyes held worry. Ethan's latest report had blown the lid off. Philip wasn't just skimming the firm, he was orchestrating a full takeover. He'd been feeding our client list and Kristen's strategic data to a rival firm, Gulf Energy Partners, for $20 million. Ryan was his broker, Kristen, his unwitting tool, her data transfers disguised as market analysis. But the real twist, Ellen Whitaker, Kristen's mother, wasn't just an investor in Philip's failed venture. She'd wired $200,000 of her savings to Gulf, believing Philip's promise of a 10x return. Ellen thought she was securing her family's future. Instead, she was bankrolling their betrayal. I called Mark at 6 a.m., my voice steel. Add Gulf Energy Partners to the suit, I said, sending Ethan's files. An Ellen limited role, but she's in. Mark hesitated. Trevor, this could destroy the Whitakers. You sure? I stared at the skyline, its lights sharp and restless. They chose their side. The first twist hit at 8 a.m. Sarah texted me, check the server logs. Someone's been in your turbine designs. I slipped into a quiet alcove, opened my laptop and logged in. A folder, my proprietary wind farm models worth $16 million if sold, had been accessed yesterday. The IP traced to Philip's office, but the login was Ryan's. They weren't just after the client list, they wanted my legacy. I texted Ethan. Confirm Philip's access to my designs. Now. His reply was instant. Got it. Photos of Ryan at Philip's penthouse handing over a hard drive. Timestamped last night. I forwarded the evidence to Mark. Add theft of intellectual property, I said. The net was closing, but the why still gnawed at me. Why risk everything? I needed answers before the gala's climax. At 9:30 a.m., Kristen approached, her smile brittle. Trevor, we need to talk, she said, eyes flickering. I nodded, leading her to a terrace overlooking the city. The air was heavy, the skyline ablaze. She started her rehearsed speech. I've been unhappy. I think we should separate. Before she could finish, a man in a suit stepped forward, Mark's process server. Kristen Halden, you've been served, he said, handing her the envelope. Her face went pale as she opened it. My divorce papers backed by texts, footage, bank records, and Philip's fraud. What the hell is this? She stammered, hands shaking. I leaned in, voice cold. You shamed me with your family. You stole from me. You're finished, Kristen. Her eyes widened. Trevor. I cut her off. Ryan's looting the firm. Philip's selling us out. And your mother, she's funding it. She froze, the truth hitting like a wave. You're wrong, she whispered, but her voice cracked. I turned away. Read the papers. Back inside, Ryan was at the bar, his face tight. Philip was working the room, his laugh forced. I handed Sarah a USB. Give this to Mark if things go sideways, I said. She nodded, no questions. I trusted her. She'd seen the firm's cracks long before I did. The second twist came at 10 a.m. before my speech. Ethan called, his voice sharp. Philip's not the mastermind. Gulf's chairman, Edward Ramsey, 60, is calling the shots. He's been blackmailing Philip, threatened to expose his debts unless he delivered the firm. My mind spun. Ramsey, a Houston titan, had golfed with me years ago, praising my turbine designs. Now he was the puppet master. Ethan sent proof emails between Ramsey and Philip detailing the takeover. Ramsey had promised Philip $5 million and a stake in Gulf. My designs were the key. I forwarded the emails to Mark. Add Ramsey, I said. Racketeering, extortion, whatever fits. Mark didn't flinch. This is bigger than the firm, Trevor. You're taking on a giant. I gripped the phone, the ballroom's chatter fading. Then I'll bring him down. I took the stage at 10:30 a.m. The room hushed. 200 eyes on me, Kristen in the back, clutching the envelope, Ryan beside her, Philip near the front, his smile strained. I gripped the podium, voice steady. Our firm is built on trust, I began. Trust in our systems, our people, our vision. I locked eyes with Philip. But when trust is broken, there's no going back. His smile faltered. Kristen shifted, uneasy. Ryan's jaw tightened. The crowd applauded, unaware of the storm. I stepped down the room, buzzing. Kristen followed, her voice desperate. Trevor, please, she begged, grabbing my arm. I shook her off. You chose Ryan, live with it. She teared up, but I was done with her games. Ryan approached, eyes narrow. What's your play, Halden? I smiled, icy. You'll find out. He backed off, sensing the trap. The third twist hit at 11 a.m. James Whitaker pulled me into a private room, Ellen at his side, her face gray. Trevor, James said, voice heavy, Ellen needs to come clean. Ellen's hand shook as she handed me a flash drive. Philip lied to me, she whispered. I thought I was investing in a green energy startup. These are my records, everything I gave him. The drive held bank statements, emails, proof of her $200,000 transfer to Gulf. She didn't know it was funding a takeover, but her guilt was raw. I'll testify, she said. I owe you that. I took the drive, my respect for James and Ellen holding firm. They were victims played by Philip's lies. Thank you, I said, and meant it. James nodded. Finish this, Trevor. I would. With Kristen's texts, Ethan's reports, Ellen's records, and the firm's logs. Mark had a case to crush Philip, Ryan, and Ramsey. We filed the civil suit at noon: fraud, conspiracy, theft, extortion, naming all three with Gulf Energy Partners as a co-defendant. Criminal charges followed: money laundering, racketeering. Mark estimated Philip's exposure at $12 million. Ramsey's at $8 million, Ryan's at $4 million plus prison time. Kristen called the next morning, her voice shattered. "Trevor, I didn't know about Philip or Ramsey. Ryan said you were hiding money. I kept it flat. You believed him over me." She sobbed. "I'll testify against them all." I didn't trust her, but her testimony was a weapon. "Talk to Mark," I said, and hung up. She'd moved to a budget motel, her career stalled, her family distant. Ryan was under investigation, his accounts frozen. Philip was holed up at his penthouse, his empire crumbling. I sold the loft for $1.4 million, pocketing $1.1 million. The firm offered me a promotion, COO, $450,000 a year. I turned it down. The company was tainted, Philip's shadow too long. Instead, I took a job with Horizon Renewables, a top-tier firm in Austin. The offer: $520,000, head of project development, full control of their wind and solar operations. I packed my bags, left Houston's skyline behind, and drove west. Austin was a fresh start: open skies, limestone hills, a condo in Zilker with a view of the Colorado River. I started cycling again, the trails clearing my mind. Horizon's clients, some from my old firm, trusted me to streamline their billions. I built systems stronger than ever, my designs safe, my name clean. At a clean energy conference, I met Rachel Coleman, 41, a policy advisor, with a quick laugh and sharp mind. We talked over coffee, not about loss or betrayal, but about grid subsidies, the future. It wasn't romance, just to spark something real. I didn't rush. Trust takes time. Philip's trial was set for next month. Kristen, Ellen, and James would testify, their statements locking him in. Ryan took a plea, spilling everything to save himself. Gulf Energy Partners was under federal scrutiny, its stock tanking. Ramsey was fighting subpoenas, but his days were numbered. The machine was dismantled piece by piece. But one question lingered, sharp as the Austin sun. Ramsey's emails hinted at a deeper player, someone above him pulling strings from the shadows. Was it real? Or just the scar of betrayal making me see ghosts? I stood on my condo's balcony, the river stretching endless. I'd torn down their empire, rebuilt my life, walked away stronger. But was it enough? Did I need to chase the truth, or let it rest? What would you have done? Hunted the shadow, or let the past fade? Like what you heard? Hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Revenge Forge, because the next story might just be your favorite one yet.